Getting wealthy requires taking risks. It requires optimism. It requires you to put yourself out there and believe that the future will be better than the past. But staying wealthy? Staying wealthy requires the exact opposite. It requires fear. It requires humility. It requires an acceptance that what you have made can be taken away from you in a heartbeat. Most investors master the first skill. They know how to hustle, how to build, how to invest. And then they lose everything because they never learned the second skill. They have the engine of a Ferrari, but the brakes of a bicycle. I'm Victor. Welcome to the lab. Today, we are starting a 3-part masterclass on the psychology of money by Morgan Housel. This is not just a book review. This is a blueprint for survival. In this first session, we are focusing on one thing: survival. How to make sure you are never wiped out, so you can stick around long enough for the magic of compounding to work. Let's go back to 1929, the Great Crash. There were two men, Jesse Livermore and Abraham Germansky. Jesse Livermore was the greatest stock trader of his day. He was worth $100 million in 1929. That is roughly $3 billion today. He was a master of getting wealthy. During the crash, while everyone else was panicking, Livermore made a massive short bet. In one single day, he made more money than most corporations made in a year. He came home to his wife, who was crying because she thought they were ruined, and he told her, "No, we just had the best trading day of our lives." Then there was Abraham Germansky. He was a multi-millionaire real estate developer, a smart man, but heavily leveraged. When the crash hit, Germansky was wiped out. He disappeared and was never seen again. Here's the twist. 4 years later, Jesse Livermore, the man who won the crash, suffered the exact same fate. He kept taking risks. He kept pushing his luck. He didn't know how to switch from getting wealthy mode to staying wealthy mode. He eventually lost his fortune and took his own life. The lesson here is brutal but necessary. Good investing is not necessarily about making good decisions. It's about consistently not screwing up. Housel writes, "Planning is important, but the most important part of every plan is to plan on the plan not going according to plan." I have seen this in my own life. In the crypto cycle of 2017, I knew people who turned $5,000 into $2 million. They were geniuses at getting wealthy. But when the market turned, they gave it all back. Why? Because they viewed their portfolio as a scoreboard to be maximized, rather than a resource to be protected. They lacked what I call the survival mindset. The survival mindset has 3 elements. Number 1, aim to be financially unbreakable. If you are unbreakable, you can stick around. And if you stick around long enough, compounding will do the heavy lifting for you. Warren Buffett is a great investor, yes. But his secret weapon wasn't just picking stocks. It was time. He has been investing for 3/4 of a century. He survived every recession, every crash, every panic. He never got wiped out. That is the skill. Number 2, acknowledging that the future is a minefield. We often plan our finances assuming a straight line of growth, 8% a year, forever. But history is not a straight line. It is a series of events. Wars, pandemics, policy changes. You cannot model these in a spreadsheet. You just have to survive them. This brings us to the core concept of this video: room for error. Benjamin Graham, the father of value investing, called this the margin of safety. The purpose of the margin of safety is to render the forecast unnecessary. If your financial plan requires the stock market to return 8% this year for you to pay your mortgage, you have no margin of safety. You are fragile. If you can survive the market dropping 30% and still pay your bills, you are robust. If you have cash on the sidelines to buy more when that drop happens, you are anti-fragile. Let me tell you about my personal rule for this. It's called the sleep at night test. This is not a mathematical metric. It is a biological one. I hold a significant amount of cash and physical gold. Mathematically, this is inefficient. Inflation eats away at cash. Gold doesn't pay dividends. A spreadsheet would tell me I am losing potential returns. But that cash prevents me from ever having to sell my stocks or my real estate during a downturn. It buys me the right to be patient. If I have to sell a great asset at the bottom of the market because I need cash to pay a bill, I have committed the ultimate investing sin. I have interrupted compounding. The cash I hold is not for buying things. It is for buying my independence from the chaos of the market. Now, let's talk about the math of why survival matters so much. It's a concept Housel calls tails you win. In finance, a tail event is a rare, 1 in a million outcome that drives the majority of results. Consider the art collector Heinz Berggruen. He amassed an incredible collection of Picassos and Cleese. He sold it to the German government for over $100 million. People thought he was a genius art picker. But when you look at his data, the reality was different. He bought thousands of paintings. Most of them lost value. Some of them broke even. But a tiny percentage, the tail, became masterpieces that increased in value by thousands of times. Those few winners paid for all the losers and generated all the wealth. This is true for venture capital. It is true for the S&P 500. Look at the stock market. Most public companies are terrible investments. They go bankrupt or stagnate. The entire return of the stock market comes from a small handful of companies, the Apples, the Amazons, the Googles, that become tail events. If you own the index, you own the tails. But here's the catch. You only capture the returns of the tails if you hold on during the bad times. If you panic and sell during a crash, you miss the recovery. And since the recovery is often driven by those few tail companies, you miss the entire point of investing. You have to survive the volatility to get the tail returns. So, how do we turn this into a system? How do we execute survival in 2024? I use 2 specific systems. System 1, the barbell strategy. This is a concept I adapted from Nassim Taleb. I don't try to be moderately safe everywhere. That is a recipe for mediocrity. Instead, I am hyper-conservative on one side and hyper-aggressive on the other. On the safe side, I keep 6 to 12 months of living expenses in high-yield cash or equivalents. I own physical metals. I treat this bucket as zero-return money. Its job is not to grow. Its job is to be there. On the aggressive side, I invest in high-growth equities, crypto, and real estate. I let these assets run. I accept the volatility. Because my safe bucket is full, I never look at a 50% drop in crypto and feel panic. I feel opportunity. System 2, the survival number. Most people have a freedom number, the amount they need to retire. But before you get there, you need a survival number. Calculate exactly how much it costs to keep your life running for 1 month. Shelter, food, basic utilities. No travel, no luxury. Multiply that by 6. That is your survival number. Until you have that number sitting in a liquid, accessible account, you have no business trying to be a hero in the markets. Prioritize filling this bucket above everything else. Getting rich is intoxicating. It feels like you are a genius. But staying rich is boring. It feels like paranoia. You need both. You need the optimism to invest, but the paranoia to save. Here is your challenge for the next 7 days. I want you to audit your room for error. Look at your monthly expenses. Look at your debt obligations. Ask yourself, if my income stopped tomorrow, how many days could I survive without selling my investments? If the answer is less than 90 days, you are in the danger zone. Stop looking for the next 100 times coin. Stop looking for the next hot stock. Focus entirely on building your margin of safety. Move $50, $100, whatever you can, into a separate survival account this week. Label it "Do Not Touch." Remember, The goal is not to get the highest returns this year. The goal is to survive long enough for your returns to become life-changing. Stay calm, build systems, let money follow,